Today I want to do a collage using book papers. This collage is inspired by the work of collage artist Denise Fiedler. Denise Fiedler is a San Francisco-based artist who started making collages in 2009 after a long career in the textile business. She used to cut and sew fabric, but now she cuts and pastes paper. She cuts paper from printed pages from old books and newspapers. Her representational subject matter is varied, spanning animals, household items, and everyday objects, but among her favorite themes are dogs and cats. For this project, you're going to need different types of book papers. You want to make sure that you have pages from books that have larger text and smaller text, a little bit yellowy, maybe some of your older books. Maybe you have a math notebook or a writing notebook. You also want to have a few little bits of black paper. You won't need a lot of black paper, but it's good to have a little bit of black paper. I also have some music sheet paper here, some brown wrapping paper or butcher's paper. You can also use just plain newspaper, old papers from your schoolwork, old photocopies. See what you can take out of your recycle drawer. The goal is really to have a variety of different types of paper. You want some with larger text, some with smaller text. You want some that's simple or plain without text. No color, you just want pretty much black and white, printed text or plain, and a little bit of black. You need a base paper as well that you can glue all your cutout papers onto. I'm just using sort of a brown piece of drawing paper here, but you could use any paper. Today I think I'm going to do something maybe a little simpler. I really enjoyed doing the dog, so I think I'll do another dog. I'm going to start with the dog's chest. Let's see, I'm not using a pencil. I am just cutting my way through this process. Let's keep it real simple. So this is my dog's body. For my dog's face, I'm going to use a different type of paper. I'm going to cut out the shape of his head. Now, in this example, I got pretty detailed. You do not have to get this detailed if you don't want. Of course, I challenge you to get as detailed as you can. For the ears, I'm going to use some of my black paper. I like to use a little bit of black paper because I find that using a little bit of black in a composition where there's otherwise no color creates some really good contrast. And we all love contrast in art. Now here's a trick. I cut out an ear. I like the shape of this ear, so I'm actually going to trace around it with my scissor and just try to get that same shape. So here are my two ears. You can see that I'm already starting to play around with the composition here. How do I want him to look? Maybe he's tilting his head and this ear is kind of drooping down. Right now, I am not going to glue down anything. I'm just arranging things, and I will figure out where I want to glue things later. Now I want to create a little contrast in his eye area. By the way, you can also just tear paper. You don't have to cut. If you're happy tearing, you can go ahead and just tear the paper instead of using scissors. I'm going to create this space around his eyes. Sometimes dogs have different color area around their eyes. Ooh, that's way too big. See how you're learning as you're going? Okay, so I'm going to make this a little smaller. Now I'm going to create his eye. For that, I might use plain white paper. You want to have a little bit of plain paper as well. You want to have text and you want to have paper without text. That's going to give you a lot of variety. We know that variety is so important in art. Now I want to give him his pupils. I'm going to try to use up some of this black paper. I don't like wasting paper. I'm going to see if I can use this up. And before I glue anything down, I also want to decide what type of expression do I want him to have. Watch this. If I give him this type of expression. He looks a little mean, I don't know. Maybe this one, he looks a little sad. So there's all kinds of playing around you can do with the shape and the location of his eyeballs. So for the nose, I think I will use, again, a little bit of black. Now for his tiny little mouth, I like to do 2 little pieces. I like to have one piece coming down, then the other piece. You know what? I am almost done with my dog. I just need to figure out how I want him to be positioned. Maybe he's got a little black spot down here. Ooh, I think that looks kind of nice. I think that's a good composition. Now we need to arrange his eyes. Let's go for it. So I think I'm going to glue this down. You have to glue with the things in the back first. So I'm very gently going to move these things away, and I'm going to start gluing. You want to glue back to front. Okay, so I have finished collaging all my pieces together. This is my finished dog. I added 2 little pieces of white paper inside his eyes to give him a little bit of a reflection spot. I'm gonna sign my name down here. And this is my Denise Fiedler dog made with collaged book papers. You can get really complicated with this and very detailed. You could spend a lot more time really developing your piece and adding lots of teeny little details and more reflections and more little details inside the ear and on the body. You can keep it real simple. If you enjoyed this process, you can do a couple of more as well. Why not try a cat? Okay, so I've done 2 variations of dogs. Let's do something a little different. I would like to challenge you to do a chair. Let's see, I'm going to start with the back of my chair. What kind of chair am I going to do? I think I'll do sort of an office chair. There's the back of my chair. Then I need the seat of my chair. You have to think about scale. If that's the back of my chair, the seat of my chair might be a little wider. Maybe that's the seat of my chair. Now I have to think of the construction of my chair. What's holding it together? The arms, the legs, and the backing of the chair. So I'm going to create the back of my chair, which is basically, for this office chair, just that metal backing, really. Then let's do the legs. The best way to do this is to look at a picture of a chair. Just find a picture of a chair online or look at a chair in your house. And try to establish the basic shapes of that chair. What are the basic shapes? You've got the back, the seat, the spine of your chair, and then the legs. Probably wondering, what in the world are you doing? Well, I don't really know. I'm working it out. Right, so I'm going to move things around a little bit until I have just the right arrangement. So I'm going to go ahead and collage this. A good trick is to turn it upside down and rub it so that everything sticks. Let's do another chair. I'm going to do sort of an old-fashioned plush seat. Then my chair has a back. This is the back of my chair. I think my armrests I will do in this gridded paper. You could do 2 armrests at a time by folding your paper and then cutting out 2 at a time. Saves you a lot of time and it gives you much better symmetry. because these pieces are going to be pretty much exactly the same. So you have to think like a designer here, okay? So what is the function of this chair? What does this armrest need in order for it to be functional? It needs another piece right there. I'm gonna go ahead and start gluing parts of my chair down just so things aren't moving around so wildly. So I thought this chair was lacking a little bit of contrast, so I decided to add in a few skinny strips of black. I think that that has helped to define some of the elements here in my chair. So here I have two different chairs, sort of an office chair and a more plush sofa chair. I'm gonna put my initials underneath them. And that's that. So I hope you had some fun learning how to do different collages, animals, chairs. I encourage you to challenge yourself and really explore collage. Have fun.